Hello, everybody. My name's James. Welcome to another Planet FPL clash of the correspondents. And on deadline day, I've got a game week 21 fixture to preview for you today. Firstly, let me introduce you to our Ipswich Town correspondent. It's Paul Gaught-Allen. How are you, Paul?
Hi James, how are you?
Very well, thank you, mate. And our Brighton and Hove Albion correspondent, Sam Murray's in. How are you, Sam?
I'm all good, thank you. Hello, everyone. Hope we are all good.
Can't speak for everyone else, but yeah, very well, thank you, Sam. Thanks for the welcome to everyone as per usual. Paul, how are we feeling about the Tractor Boys at the moment?
Yeah, I can't speak for everyone, but I think we're getting the most pretty much out of what we've got. I think we've got a manager who gets the best out of the squad that he's got available. I think off the pitch, our recruitment is pretty good. And I think we're in a decent position. I know we're in the relegation zone, but I think a lot of people may would have expected us to be the team that's you know uh, come well down at the bottom, and we're not that. We're certainly in there fighting. Yeah, I'm happy. McKenna's teams normally improve in the second half of the season, so yeah, I'm pretty content with it. I'm not jumping up and down and ordering a champagne yet, but we're doing all right. We're getting on with it. We're doing all right.
How do you see it? Is it two from four? Is it to go down? Is that how you see it?
Yeah, I think so. I think Southampton are gone. You heard from Matt, whatever it was last week. He's pretty much resigned to it. And then there's Leicester, us, Everton, Wolves. I think West Ham will be too good. So I think
Words
that's.
said by no one ever, but carry on.
Yeah, I think West Ham have just got too many good players up the front of the pitch that they'll win games even against good teams. So I think it is two from four.
Okay. So how you see it, Sam, as neutral?
Yeah, yeah, looks like it. Yeah, two from four.
Sam, we last spoke before the rivalry game,
Hmm.
and this was in the midst of this brilliant run of fixtures that you had that
Yeah,
everyone steamed into. What was that about game week 12? We're now heading into what game week 21? You've not won in the league since. But I guess morale improved a little bit with draws against Villa and Arsenal. Like, who are you, Sam? This I look at the table. You're the only team that's drawn double figures of games. You've drawn 10 of 20 games so far. It feels like I've come full circle back to Potter. You'll be good against the good teams, shit against the shit teams, and just draw the majority of them either way.
yeah. I thought this season would be a little bit different. It's going into that Southampton game at home and start of that good run. You think this is get a good result here, and things are different, but it's the same thing. Too many draws again against teams towards the bottom of the table. Tough to beat, I suppose, is a positive, but too many points dropped, and it's that gap now between us and Europe. I think we're 5 points off seventh now, so it's getting to the point where we need to win. The Villa away and Arsenal at home, points from those are completely fine. Yeah, point at Villa Park and then Arsenal, that's fine. It's the games before that which it builds a little bit of pressure going into those sort of games, and yeah, it stacks up a little bit. We need a win soon. It's still we've heard so it's still early days. We've had a few injuries, not to use an excuse like last year. I think it was more of a problem. We've got really good depth this year, but still, it's been difficult to get a bit of consistency with the lineup. A few fans are starting to slowly swing against Hertzler. For me, it's still early days. We're coming into the second half of the season now, where we can start to play everyone for a second time and see if we've learned our lessons from the first time around.
Okay, that's interesting. That alarm a few people. What is it specifically about Hertz that a few people are concerned about at the moment then?
It's always difficult after following on from Roberto De Zerbi was always going to be tough. I think some people maybe don't see a proper system, but again, after De Zerbi was one of our greatest, probably our greatest manager, amazing tactician, obsessed with football. You could see you didn't have to be, too into the tactics to see what he was doing. He had a clear plan every game. Whereas with Hertzler, maybe it's not quite as clear. The control don't particularly have control of games like we did with De Zerbi, and the games feel quite swingy. If we get a goal we look like we're going to score a few. As soon as we concede, it completely turns, and we don't really have control of games. It's I still like Hurst. He still hasn't. It's still early days, and players going to come in end of the season maybe more suit his style. He hasn't got a team full of players that he's brought in. We talked in pre-season about the three at the back, and we still kind of had to deal with a different sort of formation. So yeah, it's early days, but it feels like a big six weeks or so now to get some wins and get fans.
Just have it though.
Yeah. The easier games on paper we should have been winning, but yeah, that builds the pressure for the next 6 weeks. And if we've got it looks like a tough run. We've got United away, we've got Everton, we've got Forest away, Chelsea. They're not easy wins. So we'll see what happens. We need to start winning.
Paul, I saw a clickbait headline that was suggested that Kieran McKenna might be the next manager to lose his job. I didn't click on it because I assumed that's what it was. And for the benefit of those on the audio, your laugh tells me that there's no danger to the manager here, is there?
No. The only way he's leaving is to a bigger and better club. Or bigger club, I should say, not better.
Yeah,
maybe yours.
Careful, mate. Hold on, I'm all right with my manager. Don't stitch me up. We haven't lost the North London derby yet this week, mate. Sam, I promised everyone on the Chip Talk pod that you'd tell everyone that Joao Pedro was fit or not. So go on, off you go.
I can say it. It might not be true. We don't know much about Joao Pedro's injury. Scan went okay, and it's not that bad. Does that mean it's bad enough to keep him out for a few games? I don't know. I'm glad there's no serious damage because he's had a few injuries since he joined, and the last one in particular kept him out for a while. So he's a crucial player. If he's fit, he'll play. We have no idea.
So if he's fit, he plays. If he's not, he's not. So I guess, can you visualize a scenario where he's a sub here?
Again, it's going to be difficult to predict this front four. We had Jorginho, Rutter, and Minter are now sort of a flag. They've had a few couple of knocks there. There's injuries, and obviously Welbeck as well, just coming back into it. He got half an hour, I think it was, at the weekend. So there's a lot of uncertainty there. Maybe depends on fitness of other players. If he's fully fit and he's completely fine, then yeah, he'll play. But he get injured on Wednesday and Thursday, and the scan on the weekend, maybe it means there was a bit of swelling, and it could still be enough of an injury to keep him out for a game or two. We don't know enough about it, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I think also, obviously, the game's Thursday, then you got another away game on Sunday. There's a possibility he could be a substitute under this sort of circumstance. What's your advice to people who own, Sam?
I'll probably start him this week anyway. I've got him.
Yeah.
I've had him all the way through. He's not going anywhere anytime soon, unless he's out for 4 or 5 games. Even if he misses 1 or 2, I'd probably still keep him around.
Yeah, I suppose if he was to miss the next 3 though, and then it's Forest, Chelsea, you start looking, don't you?
Yeah, that's when it starts to get tempting. Especially last few weeks, a lot of the forwards have been doing quite well. There's options there. But for now, I think he's staying in my team.
I think there was a few people planning to buy him now, Sam. And there'll be a small cluster of people obviously on Gabriel Jesus, who's been ruled out. And I think if you need to look down and instantly you're drawn towards Joao Pedro, you can't buy him now though, can you?
No, it feels if you're moving on an injured player for another player who's probably more likely to not play than play, it's difficult buy.
But his mate Danny Welbeck is fit.
Yeah.
Or is he?
Well, it's another one where I feel like Hertz has now figured out that he's probably not going to get 90 minutes out of Welbeck every week. He was on a good run. He made it halfway through the season and has become really important. And Hertz constantly speaks about how much he loves to have him around the team. Vice captain now as well. He's good to have around. But he did say, Hertz was saying about managing his minutes, seeing how he feels and taking care and just, I think, managing his comeback, not throwing him straight back in. Again, he might be needed if the 3 players we mentioned are all injured. Might have to put him back in, but it's going to be, 30 minutes and then a start and 30 minutes. I feel like he might be managing his minutes a little bit more.
Eight attacking returns in 13 games for 13 starts, I
Yeah.
should say, for Danny Welbeck. He missed the game after you drew with Southampton. We lost at Fulham and changed the system. We didn't play that well that night. Then he appeared for 20 minutes at Leicester as a substitute. Then we haven't seen him again since. What he's had, is it just the same problem that was picked up after the Southampton game and he tried to come back once and it didn't work? Do we
Yeah,
know?
but maybe something like that. Yeah, I think it was it an ankle injury as well for Pedro, for Welbeck. Yeah, I
Both
think
of
it
them,
might have
yeah.
been something like that. Yeah, yeah, it's one of the things. He is important now, so we do want to get him back, but you've just got to be careful. He's been in training for, I feel like he's been in training for a couple of weeks to some extent, but it's just a wait and see. But it's good that he's got some minutes in the FA Cup, because yeah, he's important. And with Ferguson out as well, it felt like Welbeck being injured would be Ferguson's moment, but he's also injured as well now, and it looks like more weeks before we'll see him again as well. So
He's also an ankle injury, isn't he, Evan Ferguson?
yeah, I don't know what we're doing.
Are they walking on Brighton Beach on the stones? Is that what's going on here?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Do you subscribe to the theory that many of us have said that Welbeck being back will be really good for Joao Pedro once they're both fit and playing together again?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because they're not necessarily competing for minutes. I think Pedro, he's our keeper. He's our best player. If he's fit, he starts, and Pedro is better in that number 10 role. He wants to get involved. He floats around. He can create. He can score. He just always wants to be involved as much as possible. And he kind of covered in that number 9 position. He wasn't quite as good. He can still do a job. He can do a job anywhere in the front line. He's that good, but. Yeah, I feel like Welbeck back in will help him. We've had Jorginho Rutter at number 9 as well. We've had Enciso up front against Norwich, but those two positions are very flexible. There's a lot of movement in there, especially when we don't have Welbeck. You've got quite similar players like Enciso, Rutter, and Pedro all want to get involved, get on the ball. So yeah, it's a slightly different dynamic without Welbeck, but Welbeck, yeah, would be positive for Pedro.
And I presume that's the favoured front too, at least centrally anyway.
Yeah, I'd say so. Again, we've got so many options up front. Our attacking depth is brilliant, and there's so many different profiles of players as well. Matoma, Dingra, and then you've got Enciso, who just wants to get the ball and shoot every time. Grudu's been playing a bit more recently as well. Quite a technical player. We're starting to see a little bit more of him. Yeah, I think Welbeck and Pedro the favourites too, but you've got competition there as well, so we can afford to manage Welbeck and bring him out of the team if he needs some time to recover.
So definitely not dive back into Danny Welbeck then either.
Probably no, not yet. See if he starts against Ipswich, but even then, like if he starts against Ipswich and gets 80 minutes, is he going to be starting again at the weekend?
Yeah,
probably not.
Yeah, I feel like has he got a good historical record against Manchester United? That feels like rings a bell.
Possibly, I think he scored one. I can't really remember.
Feels like one of them. So, Welbeck scored against his old club again. Feels like one of them I've got stuck in my head. I must profess I've not checked the stats. So, right, Paul. So, if we want to buy an enabling forward this week, we can't go to Brighton. So, Liam Delap's our guy, is he?
I was just wondering. Yeah, I suppose what you got with Delap that you haven't got with Pedro or Welbeck is pretty much guaranteed, 75 minutes starting talisman type player. We're not going to wrap him in cotton wool. We've got to play him. So yeah, he'll be playing. Obviously, we're not as good a team as Brighton, but he's got whatever he's got, 8 goals so far this season, couple assists for 5.6. You take that again in the second half of the season, I think. So yeah, I don't think that's a bad pick at all. But there's a pretty big upside, I suppose, with Pedro, because if he's fit, what did you say? 8 goals in 13 starts?
That's Welbeck.
Oh, that was Welbeck.
Yeah.
Well, both of them, yeah, they've probably got higher upsides, but there's a little bit of you know, a little bit of rotation that's likely there with those two. You would think, especially in times like this where we've got 3 game weeks and things like that.
How good is he, Paul? Delap.
Uh, he is the best I've seen at Portman Road since Marcus Stewart, and he might be getting towards that level. He's very good, and he's whatever he is, 21. And I
Yeah.
love him. I love the way he plays.
I mean, if the worst happened this year, do you imagine he'd be with you next year?
Oh, if we go down, he's not with us. And
Yeah, it
if we
feels like
stay
that.
up, he might not be with us.
That's also a possibility. His 10 attacking returns is great, right? 8 goals scored, 2 assists so far this season. Really good returns. My concern is, Paul, he scored in the last two. He scored penalties in both, really taken,
Mhm.
well taken penalties in both. But other than that, his last goal was at Tottenham in game week 11. That's a long time. He's played, other than Newcastle at home, which is, I guess, probably your worst performance of the season, I'm going to
Yeah,
guess,
yeah.
which is a game that he missed through suspension. It's probably not a coincidence that. He's played nearly, sort of 80 minutes plus in all the games and hasn't scored other than a penalty since game week 11. I'm not sure I want to go and buy that.
Possibly not. I suppose there's a bit of mitigation there that I think we overplayed him in that period because we didn't have George Hurst to come off the bench for 25 minutes or whatever George Hurst's role was before when he got injured. So I think there was definitely a phase when we had a 3 game week and we played Palace and Bournemouth at home. Can't remember who we played away, first of all. He looked shattered. And there was an element that we were kind of pleased he got his 5th booking because he needed that week off. He looks revitalized, absolutely tore Chelsea apart. He looked right back on it for that game. And I think, the goals will be there. And George Hurst is coming back now, which really helps him as well. It does give us that little bit if we need to just bring him off 20 minutes ago, like we normally do with our forward players. It's great. It
So
means
you're
that
saying
we
going
get.
forward, he's probably going to become a 70-minute man rather than an 80-minute man. Is that what you're saying? With a little
Yeah, I
change
hope
here.
so. It does depend because obviously if he's playing well and the game is still live, we want to get every last second out of him. But, we don't have to completely, drain his battery completely and then go, oh, we got a game in 3 days. What are we going to do? Oh, he's got to play again. We do have George Hurst, who's let's call him an able deputy right now.
Okay. I take it he's definitely on the pens, Paul, yeah?
Oh yeah,
It's not
yeah.
Ali Al Hamadi's not taking over, is he?
No, I don't think he's going to be taking them. No, I think Liam Delap's going to take him.
If you haven't seen Ali Al Hamadi's penalty for Ipswich at the weekend, please leave this podcast now and go and search for it. It's one of the greatest penalties I've ever seen, I think, Paul.
Yeah, yeah, I feel sorry for him because he's had a tough time. Um, he doesn't look fit, the poor lad, but yeah, it's not a great penalty, and they almost definitely put him up there to boost his confidence. Well, I don't think that worked.
Hmm. Yeah, shame. What's not going to help the lap as well is the problem behind in the
Mm.
attacking positions at the moment. We know, obviously, unfortunately, Josh Chidozie Ogbene for the season. We've now got injuries, which at least I guess are going to keep these players out the next two, to Sammy Schmodix, Amari Hutchison, and Connor Chaplin. What's the solution here, Paul?
Well, I suspect Nathan Broadhead will play in one of those two roles. He's played pretty well in the last 3 or 4 games. And then we're probably looking at one of Jack Taylor, Jack Clark, or possibly Jaden Philogene if he comes in time.
So Jaden Philogene-Bennett's is obviously an Aston Villa player. If you are having trouble looking at what his price is on FPL, we've all had the same problem. He's listed as Jaden. He's 5.3. We think a deal is agreed, Paul, for what sort of circa 20 million?
Yeah, I think it sounds like there's some last minute, you know, tomfoolery going on, maybe with an agent. We're not quite sure, but the deal's not gone through yet. So we can hope, but we don't know what's going to happen there.
This is a very rare one though, where you could have a player that starts for you who is not your player as per the FPL deadline on Tuesday. Because we think if he's registered on Wednesday morning, he could still play because obviously the fixture's not till Thursday night. How big of a blow is it having all these players missing? Because I feel like particularly with Schmodix and Hutchinson, they'll contribute certainly in terms of the attacking returns at the top end.
Oh yeah, it's a big blow for us. Hutchinson maybe hasn't got the attacking returns FPL wise, but he's been really good at getting the ball up the pitch for us. He did that really well at Spurs and in other
Yeah, he was
games
really
too
good.
against Chelsea, and I think we do need someone to balance off him. Schmodix does that very well. Broadhead has done that pretty well in the last few games. And that's the position we're looking, to get someone in, it appears, on that left-hand side 10. But yeah, we'll definitely miss those players.
I guess in fairness, you haven't had Nathan Broadhead available to you for the majority of this season, so that's one back. For those who haven't seen him, Paul, what would you describe him as to people?
Oh, he's a beautiful player to watch. He glides across the ground, he picks up clever positions, he sees a pass. I think I was concerned in the Premier League about his physicality, to be honest, like I was about a couple of our players. But so far, since he's kind of come into the team, well, I think he made a sub appearance against Newcastle. That might have been his first appearance of the season in Premier League. Certainly, not many before that. He's just looked to have that little bit of spark, that little bit of freshness that we've needed, and he gets us up the pitch. He takes up good positions. One of the goals against Chelsea, you see him make a darting run that creates space for Hutchinson to score the goal. It's exactly what we've needed. And I think I'd be pretty surprised if he doesn't play on Thursday.
Hmm. Expected goal involvement of over 1.2 across those two games, at home to Chelsea and away to Fulham. Admittedly, there's a very high XA influence from the Fulham game on that. He's 4.9. Should people keep an eye on him, Paul, or not?
I think it's tempting. I suppose the the problem with that price could be if we are looking to invest in that area, if we're looking to get someone like Philogene in, you suspect he would be the one to drop down to the bench
Okay.
if he came in. But we don't know, and he's certainly looking good at the moment. I'd be tempted to have him in my -50 team.
Noted, Julie. On Evan Ferguson, just quickly, Sam. So I meant to speak, follow up on what you said about him before. How long is he out for?
Hurts has had more weeks before returning. I think was his word. So
Okay.
it seems like it's probably for the last year. He just had on and off injuries, and when he's been fit, he's had 20 minutes, 30 minutes off the bench, and the few chances he's got as a starter, he hasn't quite been on it, which is fair. He hasn't had a proper run. Yeah, a few more weeks, I think.
There's been speculation about a loan out of the club. Can you see that, or does this destabilize it?
Yeah, he's been linked. He's been linked with a few teams, a few Premier League teams as well, which feels a bit mad. I think the majority of Brighton fans see it as a bit of a weird decision as well. I get it from his point of view. He needs minutes, his age, and also like when you're coming back from an injury, you need to be playing football. So I get it. I get why we'd think about it, but with Welbeck's injuries, with Pedro's injuries, I feel like it's good to have another player around. Yeah, if he's out for a few more weeks as well, I'm not sure, but I wouldn't loan him, but I'd loan him abroad probably. Give him some minutes if we have to. But I've seen like he's been linked with Bournemouth,
Yeah,
stuff like that. I can't see that happening.
no, me neither. I think like the idea of Ferguson at Bournemouth, because they've obviously got the Evan Nilsson and Unal injuries, like makes sense. But because both of those forwards are injured, Bournemouth need someone to come in who's going to play 90 minutes from every
Yeah,
game. Unfortunately,
no,
at the moment, Evan Ferguson's not going to do that, is he?
no, it's a shame. But you can't be. Yeah, you're not going to get 90 minutes. I saw Potter was asked about him as well in the press conference.
Yeah, West Ham have
Today or
a need
yesterday,
now
yeah,
as well.
West Ham been linked with him as well. Yeah,
That one feels like it makes a little bit more sense in the sense that obviously Potter obviously knows him, and the fact that West Ham can use other players in a position. I'm not suggesting that Bournemouth can't, but I feel
Yeah,
like West Ham have got more that they can rotate around it. Bowen when he's back fit, Kudos could play there. Ings, there's other options there to not feel like this guy's got to play every week as the
yeah,
number
you can't
nine.
be relying on it. Yeah, you don't be. Yeah,
Yeah, unfortunately not. Also, like from other teams' perspective, like it's just plugging a gap, isn't it? If you're like West Ham, oh yeah, we'll take Ferguson to the end of the season, that's nice. Then how much money do you want in the summer to sell him? Like people were talking about him over 100 million, like 12,
yeah,
14 months ago, mate.
yeah, yeah. It's a shame. He's still young, and I still really like him as his profile as a forward. He's so intelligent, and the goals he was scoring when he first came in, it was headers, back heels, edge of the box. He had a bit of everything, left foot, right foot. It feels like the last year or so he's just stagnated. He's had injuries. He hasn't had a run. Hopefully he gets back fit and gets a few games towards the end of the season and just gets a few goals. That's all he needs. Yeah, still young, still time, and there's still a lot of quality there and a lot of potential.
Definitely not for permanent sale.
I wouldn't, but it's all if we see value in a sale, then maybe it's still going to be big numbers. It's not going to be 100. But if we 40, 50 million, there will be teams interested because his stocks are low. He's got potential. This is his luck. If we get him back fit and firing, you've got a good striker there. So hopefully we don't sell him.
Okay, so he's not for sale, but I take it Karen Mitoma is because you haven't started him in the last two league games, so I presume he's available now. I can buy him, can I?
We'll see. No, but again, like, he played so much for us, and Hertzler said he's still one of our best players. He said he's sure will be back on the pitch as a starter soon. Um, the reason for rotating was just tiredness, not quite as sharp. And then you bring in a Dinger at left wing, and he has a good game against Villa, and he scores. You can't. It's difficult to take him back out. You're giving him his chance, and he's done well. The message is the left wing position's up for grabs. If you do well and you score, you start. And yeah, it's not a Mitoma will be back in there soon. I think he might start on
He
Thursday.
played
But
90
yeah,
at the weekend at Norwich. I feel like he did. Yeah, he did.
yeah, he did play. He started. Yeah, he
You
played
must have
90
been
minutes.
surprised for the Arsenal game though that he wasn't in the team, having not started at Villa. I presume you would have assumed,
Yeah,
okay, he's had a break against Villa, he'll start. There's
yeah,
nothing
yeah.
more to this, is there?
No, it's just a bit. Yeah, he's played a lot. I think he's played the most before the Arsenal game. He played the most minutes out of anyone in our squad. I think more than one of the Bruggen as well, probably. Um, Tiredness. We've got a Dinger as a backup, and yeah, bring him in. He does well. Keep him in, but Mitoma will be back in there. Back in there soon. Yeah.
Is he a sell if you own him in FPL?
Um, probably. Probably. I'll probably give him one more week. You want to see him
But it
back in the
feels like you
starting
shouldn't
lineup. Yeah.
sell before playing a team that's towards the bottom of the table.
Yeah.
And I think a few people gambled on him prior to the Southampton game, which he scored in. And I can imagine so many people that, yep, I bought the right one, sat on it all this time since and had absolutely nothing else.
Yeah. Yeah. I think one more game, the risk is fine. Even if he gets half an hour at the end, it's not the end of the world.
As much as I love him as a player, and you know that I really, really do, he doesn't return enough, does he?
No, not like he used to. He had a good streak of scoring. Yeah, he's still a really good bad player. And technically, I think he is the best I've seen at Brighton. His first touch, dribbling, he's fantastic. But he is quite wide, which is where he is best. Stretching the teams, he sometimes has two players doubling up on him still. Yeah, in terms of returns though, not not enough.
Okay. Who would you like to play on the right? It feels like you've got more options than anybody else in the league, I think, Sam, that could
Yeah,
play that position.
yeah, that is completely up for grabs, the right wing position. I really like Minter. I think he played well against Norwich. He's got pace. I I wouldn't be against starting Gruden and bringing Minter off the bench. We've got so many options there. It really is a good position. Like I said, we start any of them there, and being able to bring on Minter and Matoma against Arsenal off the bench was key. We've got a Dinger who can play out there. He's definitely better on the left, so I wouldn't want him out there on the right. Got Jorginho Rutter as well out there.
And Sonny March is
I'd
back.
like it. Yeah, and Solly March. Yeah, almost forgot about him. He's back. Good to see him back. Another option up. Yeah, right wing. I think he sort of came on as a right wing back against Norwich. We sort of switched it around a little bit. And he came on as a right back against Brentford, which felt a bit harsh throwing him in at right back with 10 minutes to go. But yeah, we got options. I think Minter's maybe the standout with him. Gruder's good as well. Yeah, I've no problems there. Whoever we play.
It's fair to say, from a fantasy perspective, all of these should be avoided.
Yeah. No, none of them right now stand out for minutes, let alone.
So far, in terms of
returns.
attacking players from the two teams, we're pretty much saying Delap or no one in terms of buying new.
Yeah. See, yeah. Can't predict who starts the front four for us this, for Thursday. And then if they start on Thursday, it's becoming difficult to predict back-to-back starts. Pedro's the one long term, and then you see what Welbeck does when he comes back into the team, and if Mitoma gets regular starts. But yeah, no, right now I wouldn't be buying any of them.
Okay. Paul, Leif Davis, I guess kind of almost falls into the attacking line of players, even though he's obviously listed as a defender. 3 attacking returns, running at kind of towards 2.5 points per game. It's not enough, is it?
No, and I think see some of his stats around chances created, you kind of think he should have more points. And I don't know if that's, luck or variance, whichever is your preferred word, that will even out over the season, or if, it's harder in the Premier League and he's not quite getting the returns that he has done in the previous 2 years. Maybe a bit of both. But yeah, so far, not really kind of justifying the 4.5 price tag compared to others in that area.
No, unfortunately not. He's second for XA behind
Yeah,
Trent Alexander-Arnold, but closely behind in third place now is Lewis Hall.
yeah,
You're only paying 0.4 more for that.
yeah.
And in terms of expected goal involvement, he's fourth now, Leif Davis, which includes being behind Daniel Munoz, who is only 0.2 more. And it's probably fair to say Palace have got a better run of fixtures than yourselves as well. If you're a Davis owner, you thinking of moving that on, do you think, Paul?
You're certainly thinking about it. Yeah. With the fixture run we've got in the next 3, I think you'd be thinking about it. But you may have bigger fish to fry. I don't know. But yeah, it'd be on the possibilities, wouldn't it?
No, that's fair. Some people will still be sitting on Jacob Greaves, not literally. 3.9 now, Paul. Is that back to being the best defensive enabler in the game again? And
I
does it
think
stick
so.
this time, or is Ben Godfrey nicking his place now?
No, I don't. Ben Godfrey's going to play on the right if he plays. Um,
Clarify, you saying right back potentially?
well, we play
Because he
that.
can.
We're going to
Yeah,
play that kind of like half right back, half right
yeah.
hand side centre back position, and basically, Dara O'Shea's been playing that, and Godfrey might come in that position, and we've got Twanzebe when he comes back from injury. Whereas on the left hand side, it's a straight fight between Greaves and Cameron Burgess, and Greaves, is the first choice, but Cameron Burgess did so well when he came in for him that for a while Greaves had to wait his turn. And then Cameron had a couple of shaky games, certainly against Newcastle, and Greaves has been in ever since. And I don't expect him to leave that spot now.
It's a worthwhile question. I mean, I think longer term, if you're buying like a fifth defender at the moment, almost
Yeah,
your first thing to draw on to do is what's happening in game week 29. And you've got Nottingham Forest at home. And I know Forest have obviously been doing fantastically well this season. But you do have Forest at home. If I've got to play that week, that's not terrible. So I think people will be drawn to look at that because there aren't many other weeks you think, oh yeah, I'm gonna play Greaves or I'm gonna play Godfrey. That's the one that you'll probably need it for. Does that kind of rule out all of these enablers because that's just too far away to quite know what's going to happen with the integration of Godfrey into this?
I think I'd be surprised if Greaves doesn't play, and I'd be surprised if O'Shea doesn't play. I think the choice is between Godfrey, Luke Wolfenden, who's done very well, who would play in the middle of the three, and if Twanzebe would probably be back by then, he's the other option in that right hand side of the three, if we're calling it a three at the moment. So yeah, I'd stick with Greaves or O'Shea and leave the other ones because you don't know who's going to play.
Okay. What's happening in goal, Paul?
Oh, God knows. Um, Christian Walton's going to play for the foreseeable. I think long term, Kieran McKenna would want Muric to play, but there's a bit of a problem there. Whatever is going, with his distribution at the moment and confidence. So I think Walton will play until he has a problem with his confidence, and then Muric will come back.
Right. Because it did raise eyebrows when he got dropped. And I know
Yeah,
Walton's
I
done
was
all right.
surprised. Yeah, I was surprised.
Yeah, it was a big shock. Who would you prefer to play in goal, just generally speaking?
At the moment, like Thursday, I'd prefer Walton to play
Okay.
because of the confidence issue that Muric has, not only just with himself, but there's an edginess around the fans when he plays now as well. There's a little bit of edginess on Sunday when we played in the cup, for instance, and Muric played. So I think for now, Christian Walton.
Okay. His shirt to lose then. Sam, similar question to the Leif Davis one for you, but with a very different type of player. Because that weekend you were playing Southampton, I think a lot of us were saying, Jan Paul van Hecke. That's the 4.5 to stick in and trust for a while Brighton have these fantastic fixtures. I'm sure some people have not got round to moving that on. Should they, or are your fixtures better that it can just sit there? Because the other thing is as well, you do play 29, but Manchester City away is far less attractive.
Yeah. 4.5 defender. He's fine to sit there, I suppose. Um, if I'm not going to tell someone not to get rid though. We don't look particularly convincing defensively best of times. We're missing a lot of players in defence now. Igor out for a few months.
Is
Kadioglu
that
out
right? A
for
few months, yeah.
yeah. He posted to me on Instagram about on crutches. Yeah, out for a few months. Kadioglu as well. He's missed 6 weeks or so, and now they've decided they're gonna. He's had surgery, so he's out for another 2 months as well. Dunk, minor calf injury, but he had a calf injury that made him miss 5 or 6 games this season. So don't know how serious that is as well. It's kind of Van Heck's the last one standing. Him and Webster at the back. Um, he's fine to hold, but if you want to move him on, yeah, go for it.
Yeah, you certainly wouldn't be investing now. I guess the one
No.
to keep an eye on now is Dunk again, because it's dropped to 4.3.
Yeah.
So when it's back, you look at that build up to 29. I realise City away is not great, but actually your fixtures before and after are not bad. Southampton away, Bournemouth, Fulham at home, then City away, Villa at home, Palace away, Leicester at home, Brentford away, West Ham at home, Newcastle at home, Wolves away. And there's only 2 games to go. So particularly even maybe for one who have sort of using the second wild card of roundabouts now, could he be considered?
Um, right. Right now, no. I want to know what his injury is. We've had this before. We've had a minor injury, and it's another month before we see the player. So, yeah, I'm not sure if he comes back in and soon and he's fit, he'll play. And yeah, right now, no, but we would like to have him back.
When was your last clean sheet, Sam?
Brentford at home,
I was only testing you.
not that
Prior
long ago.
prior to that it was Newcastle away,
Yeah, oh yeah, that was a while back.
and prior to
Yeah,
that was a 0-0 draw against Thursday's opponents. Before we finish, Sam, what can you tell us about Diego Gomez?
I'll be honest, not much. I don't really know much about him. He's joined up with us now. The game against Norwich was a bit soon, as I said, but he'll be in and around the squad now. Young, centre midfielder. Don't know too much about him. I've seen a few clips when he was playing for Paraguay with Enciso. He scored a few nice goals, so nice to have another player in there. But we'll see the impact he has.
They've overpriced him at 5.5, have they? Do we think?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, good stuff. Gents, thank you both very much. Let's do predictions before we finish. Paul?
Brighton are a very good team, but I've got us 2-1.
Sam?
Just resisting the 1-1. I'm going to say 2-1 Brighton. Hopefully.
All right, so you know what I'm going to say, don't you?
Yeah.
What am I going to say?
Both of our second choices, probably 1-1.
Yep. The Brighton special, Sam,
That's what my head says.
has
Head says
returned.
1-1.
Would that be a good result for you, Paul, or not?
It's not a bad result. We need to find probably about 5 wins from the rest of the season, but we need to also find about 5 draws. It's not awful, but I kind of want to tick off those wins, and I'm hoping this might be one of them. But no, I'm not going to be disgusted if we get a draw against a very good team.
It's difficult because you get tempted to take the. I remember if you get tempted to take the points, like you get a point against Fulham or Villa, you point at United against United at home, and they're all good points, but just turn a few of them into wins. I think you'll be good.
Yeah, I mean, the bonus is you wouldn't have expected the 3 points at my place, Paul. You wouldn't have expected the 3 points against Chelsea. So that's shown games where you can cause upsets for sure. Definitely. Your last 4 games, Paul. Everton away, Brentford at home, Leicester away, West Ham United at home. Does that make you think if I can be in this position now, like going into the last 4, you take it?
Yeah, it does, because you kind of get the feel that 2 or 3 of them might be kind of like bottom half, but probably safe by then. And then there could be a titanic penultimate game against Leicester. Yeah, I do. And I heard you on the Chips pod earlier talking about maybe that's a spell for the assistant manager chip for McKenna. If that's the way you want to go, it could be big returns there. But yeah, if we're still right in it with those last 4, yeah, I'd take that right now. But I know that Wolves don't have a kind of similar run in as well. So yeah, but I would keep us in it.
Have you looked at options for McKenna on the assistant manager chip? Is that the one, or would you rather take a period kind of gamble roundabouts the blank, things like Palace away, Forest at home, Bournemouth away? I know there's a couple of bonuses in there, at least 2, might even be 3 in a row.
I haven't looked too much into it because, like Suj said, that form is going to be big on the assistant manager chip, I think. But yeah, that block of floor stands out as our run in where we could need 8, 9 or whatever points and really go for those. But there are a couple of spells, even historically we have pretty good records against Spurs and Man U, so maybe chuck that in with Palace.
Historically, he played us once in 20 years, Paul. Park up,
yeah, I'm old enough to remember the ones before 20 years ago.
It is true to say that Ipswich beat us in the last 2 games when they got relegated in the 01-02 season as well. Sam, have you noticed anything for Hertzler on the assistant manager chip that particularly stood out?
No, I wouldn't. I don't know. We are usually better against the teams towards the top of the table, so it could be good for those boosts. But I haven't really looked into it too much, and I think it's see how it comes, see how it falls.
When it kicks off game week 24, you go to Forest, and then you got Chelsea at home 25, then go to Southampton 26. So the first 2 get you the potential bonus, and then you've got the best fixture on the calendar in 26.
Yeah, it could be.
Brave man who picks that over other managers with a double, though, at the same time.
Yeah. I haven't really looked into it too much. There's going to be so many different ways to play it, though. Not sure.
He might be one right at the end, just looking at your last 2 home games, Newcastle at home and Liverpool at home. You might have a Newcastle side might have eyes on something else, or might not be in the
Yeah.
form that they're in now. Liverpool might have the title won, he says, keeping his fingers crossed, obviously. Not because I'm pro Liverpool, I'm just anti something else, people. So maybe even them 2 home games at the end, possibly. Right. So I'm all off. We're all off to buy Liam Delap because there's nothing else we can buy here by the sounds of it. And if you've got Ipswich Brighton assets, you might want to think about selling them. Gentlemen, thank you both so much. Next week's Clash of Correspondents, I can tell you, is one for the hipsters. It's Bournemouth versus Nottingham Forest with Neil Grover and Mark Southerns. Those 2 teams obviously absolutely flying at the moment. And Clayton will be back with me for the Clayton and James show tomorrow. Just leaves me to say thanks very much to Paul, Sam. Good luck, gents. Cue music, please. Man, chop.